Hello guys, I'm Fizzy and welcome back to another league race. It's been 3 weeks since the previous race in China, but now the season in the AOR PC Split 1 League continues as we embark on the Russian Grand Prix for round number 4. And as per usual, we're gonna jump straight into qualifying. As you can see, it's only 12 seconds to go in the session, so leaving it very late to get a final lap in here in this session. Actually my third run on the super soft tires in the session compared to the usual 2 that I've done in the first 3 races, because I went with a softer tire selection for this Grand Prix. It's just basically because you don't need a great deal of hard tires for the race, because the tire wear compared to China and the other races before it is very undemanding, or well, there's not much tire wear to be had anyway compared to China. So that's not really going to be an issue. What was going to be an issue though is the fact that I really do not like this circuit in the slightest. It is definitely one of my least favorite circuits on the calendar, and as we went slightly off track there on the as well, lost about a tenth and a half, little mistake there. Yeah, I was struggling really hard to kind of find consistency around this circuit and find a good rhythm. As you can see there, a little bit oversteering on the curb on the exit as well. So my hopes for the race and my kind of confidence in my own pace going into this was not very high at all. So definitely not expecting to have any chance of kind of keeping up the run of improving by 1 position on my finishing position in every race. As you might remember, we finished 6th in Australia, 5th in Bahrain and 4th in China. Or did we? Well, the results have actually been updated since I uploaded my China video, and since then, through a stewage inquiry that was made by Berg von Trips, my teammate Race Fanatic unfortunately got a 20-second penalty added to his race time in China for an incident that they had, which actually moved me up from 4th to 3rd in the results. But yeah, it's not something I'm gonna really brag about in the slightest, because it doesn't feel like a proper deserved 3rd place for me, just purely because he obviously crossed the line ahead, even though regardless of whether he deserved this penalty. But still, of course, for my championship and for the points added to my total, I will gladly take it. But as you can see here, it's about Russia today, and the race is about to begin. We qualified P8, as you can see, which was higher than I expected, to be honest, and of course means we're going to have to start on the tires that we did that qualifying lap on, the super soft tires, and away we go as the lights are out for the Russian Grand Prix, storming down towards turn, well, this is turn 1, I guess, the little kink, and then coming down the long run down towards turn 2. You can see Chicane on the left hand side of us at the moment has jumped us after starting behind. Nuka being a bit careful in the braking zone, Berg going very much off the inside, and Marco has spun it on the outside there, which seems to have held Chicane up as well on the outside, and suddenly we have a little gap behind us. So we have gained a position then because of whatever happened to Marco there, up to 7th position, just doing what we have usually done so far this season, just staying out of trouble, not getting involved with any incidents, and picking up whatever scraps we can find. And yeah, I really am going into this with sort of a mentality of any points is a positive point. Wasn't expecting too much, as I mentioned, so anything we can get from this this race will be a bonus, I guess we can say. But at the moment it's been decent, to be honest, in 7th position, currently 6 points on the cards, but of course 26.5 laps remaining in the race, as we're just trying to see if we can keep up with the 2 Mercedes cars ahead of us. Debating whether to turn the fuel up to rich, but decided against it for some reason that I can't remember. And oh, you can see there as well, the tyre wear, not very much at all. I think normally in like China and Bahrain it would have been closer to 20% even after just the first lap in the race. But here it's not much at all in terms of tyre wear, which is good. You don't really have to worry about it too much, and it should be an easy one-stop strategy as well for the race from super soft onto the soft. As Mini Black has set the fastest lap of the race, a fellow Scandinavian. He is actually leading the race in this early stage. You can see him over there way ahead, side-by-side action with Sebi for 1st position, as Berg as well, I think, trying to attack Non-Runner for 4th, and Nuka are trying to get involved as well. It's getting very tense ahead of us, and it's been a big crash. There's been a huge crash. Mini Black out of the race, has lost the wheel there, I think, and Sebi was involved with that incident as well. Those two were the guys battling for the lead of the race just a moment beforehand, and something really bad has happened there. Very unlucky for those guys, of course. I don't think either of them have had a podium, let alone a win this season. But of course, for us, that means we're suddenly up to 5th position in the race, which certainly helps. And look at the gap behind us as well as we skip onto lap number 5. Huge gap of around 5 seconds down to O'Don, who's holding a couple of cars up back there. And we are actually doing well to keep up with the 2 Mercedes cars here. You got Berg and Nuka just ahead. And I have to say, kind of surprised with myself that I'm able to keep up with these guys. Because in practice beforehand, both of them seem to have, from what I remember, better pace than me by quite a margin. So far in the race, it's actually going pretty damn well, as we will of course have a DRS coming towards the end of this straight as well. Here we go, but not really close enough. And of course, Nuka ahead will also have a DRS from Berg, but he's gone really, really deep in the braking zone and he's wide off at turn 2. And that's going to mean that we're ahead of him now. He's rejoined behind. So Nuka's made a mistake, and 4th position suddenly in the race, just from driving consistent laps and not really making any actual overtakes. P4 has just fallen into our lap, which is very, very good. And of course now we're trying to keep up with Berg, just trying to get into the 1 second behind zone, but we weren't able to do it a few laps later, and we're 2 seconds behind. So Berg just had a pace to pull away from us once he had broken the DRS range, which of course happened because of Nuka running wide and extending the gap between him and us. And now on lap number 9 though, Nuka, despite that mistake, he's definitely not lost any pace. He's all over the back of us. We missed the apex slightly, going onto the back straight, the secondary DRS straight on air, and Nuka is so close. He's surely going to have a chance for an overtake here. He's going to have the inside line actually for the next corner, so I didn't really feel like defending too hard just because of how much more speed he managed to carry down the straight with the DRS. And as you saw, he had almost a full car length between us even before the braking zone. So Nuka has retaken that position, which is now 3rd actually, because I think one of the cars that were in the top 3 before have pitted. I think that was a non-runner potentially, pitting from 2nd place on the previous lap, and now we can see we are going to go in as well as Berg up in 3rd position. Of course, Nuka had to decide to not pit, even if he wanted to there, just because of his teammate going in just ahead of him. He would be held up. Otherwise, you can see there, Berg going out of his box as we're now coming into our box. Come on, crew, get those yellow tires on nice and quickly. 2 second stop, not bad at all. Let's see where we're going to end up then. P6 on the exit, no cars anywhere around. That's kind of what we need, so we have a nice clear lap to push before Nuka presumably will pit on the next lap. And of course what we want is to be ahead of him when he pits, and we were indeed. On to lap 13, Nuka has pitted, he's down in 6th place, we're a few seconds behind. But a man we're going to have to worry about is a non-runner who was in 2nd before, having shown great pace, but must have lost quite a bit of time somewhere, because he's behind us all of a sudden. While Burkhoff ahead has not pitted yet, so he started the race on those soft tires that he's on at the moment. And he's probably going quite a few more laps into the race before he makes that pit stop, because the soft tires are very durable around here. So we are going to have to pass him while also being wary of a non-runner just behind. So let's see if we can turn the fuel now up to rich mix, try to get a DRS in a second on Burkhoff and try to get past him before non-runner gets past us. It's really quite tense. Non-runner close behind, but we're not going to be close enough to Burkhoff, despite him taking a very defensive line. He's clearly a little bit nervous. We get a much better exit, but we had to lift off slightly there just to not run into the back of him, because there wasn't really anywhere to get around him through the apex of turn 3. And then through this super long turn 4 into turn 5, not making any inroads at the moment, despite getting so close to Burkhoff. Just a little bit frustrating that we can't find a way through at the moment. It's kind of an area of the track where it's quite hard to make a move, and non-runner really nearly pushing us around the circuit at the moment. He is really fast indeed. And the next chance surely now is the back straight, unless non-runner want to make a move here. Not the best place to make an overtake. 4th gear corner, pretty high speed, but now we need to nail this next corner to get a good run onto the straight. It wasn't the best, to be quite honest with you. Burkhoff pulling away in the traction zone there. DRS open, but can we gain enough down towards the braking zone to have a move here? Burkhoff, he's gonna go defensive. We're gonna have to be on the outside, and that's a huge lockup, and no room on the outside there anyway. So non-runners actually slipped through, taking advantage of that. So it's not gone the way we wanted. And of course, through all this battling as well, Nuka is closing the gap rapidly behind, which is certainly not going to help my sweat levels in the second half of this race, as Cool Cat now has left the session, and it's kind of getting a little sparse for cars on the track at the moment. Only 12 cars left. You only had 15 to begin with, actually, with quite a few drivers unable to attend, unfortunately, as we have had a contact with the back of Non-Runner, just out of nowhere, losing concentration for a split second, braking tiny bit too late. Luckily, Non-Runner didn't look to be affected at all by that, but I have lost part of my front wing on the right hand side, which is not going to help the handling of the car, and that's not going to help for Non-Runner. He's in the wall. That's definitely going to be some front wing damage for him as well. It looked like it was his turn then to get a little bit too close to the car ahead, and now Burkov's bitten all over the place over there, and he's nearly spun it into Nuka, and I've had to stamp on the brakes and not hit into the back of them. And he's dropped behind though. It's all just kicking off on this 15th lap of the race. I've lost an end plate. Non-Runner's in the wall and has actually got in the pits back there, I think, for a second stop. Clearly a front wing change needed for him, and Burkov's lost control of his car as well, as dropped behind. So now I'm in 4th place and with 3rd just ahead, but that's not going to help us get past Nuka if we make mistakes like that well wide at whatever corner number that was. So a few little mistakes just starting to creep in now, and now it's absolutely vital that we manage to keep in within a second behind Nuka, which we clearly did, because now on lap 17 we're right up his gearbox once again, and Burkov behind though, despite his more worn tires, is also doing well to hold the pace behind, as we are now in the braking zone on lap 19, still close behind Nuka, just trying to stay behind and see if we can find a way through, but it's really tricky to overtake, actually trickier than I thought it would be. I don't think I was the best at getting a good run onto either of the DRS straights, so that's obviously not going to help when you're trying to make a pass on the cars ahead, because for the rest of the track you kind of have to make a lunge or hope for the car ahead to make a mistake if you want to make something happen. And wow, look at that out of nowhere! Who's that behind? That's not Burkov anymore, he's pitted! As we're now lap 20, and that's Kellon on super soft tires out of nowhere, suddenly just behind. Wow, I don't know where he's come from at all, to be honest. And again, we're just not close enough to Nuka to go up the inside. We're going to try and stay with him through turn 4, maybe get a nice slipstream run through here, but it's kind of, if you get too much dirty air through here, you have to lift off anyway, otherwise you'll end up there too tight into turn 5, as Kellon is now right behind us. I don't know where he's come from still, but there he is, putting us very much under pressure, and for some reason we braked super early, trying to bring it back mid-corner there, but Kellon's gone round the outside. I think I completely misjudged the braking point there, and Kellon just said thank you very much, I'll just go around the outside with these grippy tires that I've got. Yeah, I can't explain that by saying anything else than the fact that I completely misjudged where to start braking. So that's a little bit annoying, because after fighting for 3rd, now Kellon's suddenly ahead of us, and look at that, he's just going on the inside through turn 4 as well, in Nuka on the next lap, and those super soft tires just look so much better at this stage of the race. So Kellon clearly must have started the race on the soft tires, which means that he would have qualified outside the top 10, which also means that he is on an absolute storming race here into the podium positions and on the better tires, because of the lack of tire wear. Even the super softs aren't going to fall off by the end of the race, you'd think, and especially with the front wing damage that I have, it's going to be so hard to get back to him now, especially as Nuka is still right there just ahead of us, and we still can't find a way past. But now surely we have a great run on the back straight, very close behind. DRS active going down the straight. Nuka's going to go on the inside to defend, which is not going to make it easy, but let's see what we can do in the braking zone. On the outside, just about keeping it on the track, and there we go, we've made the move on Nuka, finally making an actual overtake stick in the race. It only took like 21 laps, but we have done it. Nuka, though, it would be a bit annoying if we could get past it straight away again, but we managed to just about keep our car ahead into the first few corners on lap 22. And after that, we managed to build a gap. For some reason, despite our front wing damage, which apparently turned out Nuka also had a little bit of front wing damage, I was able to pull some seconds on him, but it was not over there. We're now going into the final laps of the race, and Non-Runners again suddenly right behind, and also on the super soft tires after having made that second stop in the race earlier. So in the last 10 or so laps, he's clearly been absolutely flying on those tires to close the gap again and basically make the whole pit stop up. He passed Nuka a couple of laps ago and has now closed the gap to me. I think he closed like nearly 2 seconds on the previous lap. So it's gonna take a bit of a miracle for me to defend from him here on the final one. Especially with lines like that through turn 5. That's gonna give no the chance to go up the inside because they weren't fast enough to move across to defend. We're gonna try to keep ahead of him out on the outside, leaving him just enough room there, and we're gonna be side by side in the middle part of the circuit, but still on the outside through turn 7. There's a bit of contact as well. Hand is raised, and has dropped behind. We're still somewhat ahead of him after all that, but now unfortunately there is a DRS straight coming up, so we need an absolutely massive run, but we slightly missed the apex. Tirana Tigers won the race, surprisingly, and now non-runner has the DRS wide open just behind. We are going to try to defend from him there, but it's going to be too much. It's going to be too much. Yeah, there we go. He had his car ahead in the braking zone, and that is it. Unfortunately, on the final lap, we're going to drop a position to non-runner, but still 5th place, given the kind of expectations I had going into this race. That is way better than I expected. I thought I would be lucky to get in the points there. Obviously it helped that there were quite a few no-showers and a couple of crashes as well, but 5th place, we will gladly take that as we come across the line. And wait, it says we're P4. We actually gained a position across the line, and as you can see in just a second on the results, that is because non-runner had 9 seconds worth of track limit penalties. So up to 4th again, so that battle on the final lap didn't really matter at all, which in a way is a little bit annoying, but for me, I won't mind. I'll take 4th instead, that's fine. And yeah, look at that! I mean, what? Having gone into this race, I have no idea how that has happened. We're currently up to 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship. I mean, Tigger is kind of running away with the whole thing, as he tends to do recently. It's exactly what he did in the PS4 League last season as well, but in the battle for 2nd, I have jumped a couple of cars and now sitting in the runner-up spot in the championship, though by only 1 point over Berg, of course, and 3 further points over non-runner, so it's very, very close indeed. Marco dropping down, having not been able to recover too much from his first corner incident, and my teammate Race Fanatic, of course, dropping points as well, just by virtue of not being here today, unfortunately, which is a shame for us in the Constructor Championship sense, but we are still clinging on to that 2nd place, despite Mercedes closing the gap a bit with a good double finish for them. So it's only 4 points between Renault and Mercedes now in the battle for 2nd. Also in the Constructors, it seems at the moment that 2nd place in both the Drivers and the Constructor Championship has to kind of be sort of the best we can get, and I guess then the aim for the season. Still though, so many fast drivers in this league, is going to be very, very hard to achieve, but we will try our very best. If we can keep it up at the next race in Spain, that would be very nice indeed. No idea what to expect there again. So as usual, I'll just be going in there, trying to do my best, trying to stay out of trouble, trying to pick up the positions that I can, and I hope you will join me for that ride as well, for the Spanish Grand Prix next time out. But for now, thank you so much for enjoying the Russian Grand Prix with me. Didn't think I'd say Russian Grand Prix and enjoy in the same sentence, but it did happen. It was actually quite good. So cheers guys, see you next time in Spain, and goodbye.